Hi, it's me. Okay, I'm back. Now that I made my four-part series of my the beginning introduction of my PNES and how it all started to happen to my body, and the basics of what happened to me, the hospital visits, and just the basics on that. I'm gonna go into more detail with that. And basically now I'm going to start talking from how it actually formed inside my body from being a child to pre-adult to adult. I'm 45, so I'm still dealing with it. Okay, the most of the things that I've dealt with is basically from my mother. My mother was basically my caregiver. My dad kind of really wasn't into having children. He didn't want children. My mom wanted children. So my father was really not like he was living with us as a family, but he really didn't want anything to do with us. He was basically always hiding in his garage, or if we were sitting in the same room, we really wouldn't have any conversation. It was very awkward. Um I was very intimidated by my dad. My dad was very tall. My dad was very big. His personality was kind of like he was very short-tempered all the time. Like the littlest things would set him off. Um, his background, he grew up on a farm and his dad always worked. I loved my grandfather. He was in World War II and he had his own farm, my grandfather, and he raised cattle. So basically my dad grew up on a farm. He helped my grandfather, and basically that was his life with his siblings. And I think that life was kind of like rough for him, but he had to man up and he had to really like buckle down. And I don't know if his situation of mental health was probably from his childhood, or it was just like his personality in general. Um, my mom was basically my main caregiver. I had a younger sister. I have a younger sister that's 2 years younger than me, but I think my mom basically made me like the golden child. She was like always, trying to do more for me, and I kind of saw too my sister got left behind in some things. Um, as a child in the 80s, I grew up in the 80s. I was really big in like the Rainbow Bright, and I was really big in She-Ra. I was really big in Thundercats and the Smurfs. So basically, I would be put like in front of a TV, or my mom would buy me and my sister like so many toys, but she would never play with us. She would never sit down and like have like time with us where we would sit down and watch my cartoons or watch a movie together. And she basically was just like, I don't know if my mom has very bad mental illness. I don't know whether she didn't know how to bond with us, or I don't know. As a child, I remember living in our older house that around 4, 5, 6 years old. Um I always felt like I guess like pushed away. I think a lot of 80s kids experience that too, from like all my research and going into groups and people talking about this. Um, Kids in the 80s, I guess they were just pushed away, and the parents did what they wanted, and we basically had to entertain ourselves. Um, I felt like very neglected. I felt my mom in the beginning, she cared about me, but I don't feel like the I guess like the emotion side of it. Like I feel like, like she gave me toys and she's like, "Okay, go play." Kind of relationship with my mom when I was a child. Um well, that was the beginning of my emotional neglect from my mom and total neglect from my father. Um there was my first incident of trauma was from my dad. Um I was a child. I think I was like maybe like 4 or 5. I think maybe 3 or 4. Um, my mom bought me a marker set to color because I loved coloring. And my dad was at work, and I don't know where my mom was. She was off doing something, and I decided to color on the wall. And yeah, I got in really big trouble with that, and my mom yelled at me. She was trying to scrub the walls off before my dad got home. My dad came home, and my first experience with him scolding me was he took his belt off and he beat my butt, and it hurt, and it left a lot of trauma with me. And as I tried to go to school, I had a lot of problems comprehending words, and I gained a stuttering problem. So when I went home, I would try to talk, and with my dad in the room, I would stutter a lot. I think it was a lot of fear. And I think in the beginning too, I was neurodivergent because I was been diagnosed right now. I've been as an 45-year-old. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was diagnosed as an ADHD and AUDHD. So back then I could see everything now because then I didn't know. But I struggled with stuttering for about 2 years. I had to go to a class or some type of therapy to learn how to talk, to learn how to say words, and kind of break me from stuttering. And then eventually I stopped stuttering. I think I was in the 2nd grade, I was still going. In the 3rd grade, I didn't have to go anymore. And I was able to pronounce words correctly and without stuttering. Okay, so the house we were living in when I was younger, about 3, 4, 5 years old, we had a dog named Fester. He was an Irish settler, and I really loved that dog, and I loved animals. I've always loved animals. I had a lot of stuffies. I had a lot of stuffed animals. I had a lot of toys and that were animals, and I had horses that were animals. Well, my parents decided they want to move, and their dog couldn't go with us, and I didn't know any of this until I was like a teenager. My mom finally told me what happened to my dog Fester. My dad's kind of well, kind of, he's a sociopath, and he's big, a narcissist. While I was snapping in the living room, because I didn't like laying in the bedroom, I would lay in the living room, and I took my nap, and I woke up, and I asked, where's Fester? And then my mom was standing outside with my dad, and they said he got hit by a car and he died. And I was like, well, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything outside because our house was in the country and you could hear everything outside. So, yeah, but like what really happened was my dad took my dog into a field behind our house, and he shot him and killed him and buried him because we were going to move. So, yeah, that's my first beginnings of my trauma. The first couple weeks that I was told my dog died, I would have nightmares every night. I would have nightmares of I can remember my nightmares. I had nightmares of like a car hitting my dog and me running after him. I remember my dog had a little house outside he would sit in, and then I would go outside in a little house, and I would just like lay there and cry. Yeah, it was very hard. I still have a, it's still very raw that happened to my dog. I remember the kind of house we were living in at that time too. It was like a half a double type of house, and it was in the middle of the country. And our neighbor was the landlord. And I remember the one time my dad was fighting with the landlord guy, and then my mom, she went out front, and then I just followed him because I heard all this noise, and my dad and the landlord guy were fighting. Then my mom started fighting with the guy, and the poor guy was like in fucking the tears almost. And then like he was really scared of my dad. Of course, my dad's very scary. And then they had to call the police on him, and that they were gonna arrest him. But I don't know the rest of it because I was young. But I definitely remember that situation too. It was very scary. It was just shocking. There are good things about where we lived there too. I had across the street, I was friends with a girl named Kendra. I used to go across the street and play with her. And then we had these really cool neighbors, Lori and Holly. The girl Lori was my age, and Holly was my sister's age, so we used to always hang out all the time. We used to eat popsicles. We used to listen to records. We used to ride our bike. We used to do all kinds of fun stuff together. So I have some good memories there too.